Hamilton's Monaco podium was not safe when he crossed the line. A seven-time world champion finished second for Ferrari, moved into second in the championship, and looked like the only driver close enough to challenge Kimi Antonelli. Then the stewards entered the story. A 5-second pit lane penalty, a safety car investigation, a red flag, Leclerc in the wall. 5 drivers caught by the same Monaco pit lane trap, and Hamilton publicly saying he was shocked because he believed he had not been speeding. This was not just Ferrari drama. This was a podium hanging by seconds, while the entire race result sat under the shadow of the rulebook. But here is the twist. Hamilton's penalty may expose something much bigger than one Ferrari mistake. Because if 5 different drivers were caught by the same pit lane measurement point, then Monaco may not have revealed a driver problem. It may have revealed a regulation problem. And if Ferrari want to chase Antonelli and Mercedes for this championship, they cannot survive weekends like this forever. Because Hamilton kept second this time. But the next investigation could cost Ferrari everything. Subscribe to the channel. Monaco did not simply give Ferrari a podium. It gave Ferrari a warning. Because when Lewis Hamilton crossed the line in second place, it looked like the kind of result Maranello desperately needed. A 7-time world champion in red, surviving the most chaotic race of the season, scoring huge points, and moving into second in the Drivers' Championship. But Monaco does not hand out clean gifts. It wraps everything in pressure. And Hamilton's second place came wrapped in 2 investigations, 1 real penalty, a teammate's crash, and a pit lane controversy that caught so many drivers, it stopped looking like coincidence. That is where the drama begins. Because Ferrari did not leave Monaco asking only how to catch Kimi Antonelli. They left asking whether their own result had almost been taken away by the rulebook. Hamilton's weekend already felt strange before the race even began. The Ferrari SF26 had looked strong in practice, but when qualifying arrived, Hamilton said the car felt drastically different. He said it had taken a step back, even though there had been very few setup changes. That detail matters. In Monaco, confidence is not a luxury. It is the difference between attack and survival. A driver needs to know exactly what the car will do before he turns in, before he brushes the wall, before he commits to a corner where there is no escape. If the car changes character, the driver feels it instantly. A little less grip becomes doubt. A little less balance becomes caution. A little less trust becomes lap time. And yet, Hamilton still qualified third, his best Monaco qualifying result since 2019. On paper, that looked like progress. But underneath it, Ferrari already had a mystery. Why had the car changed? Why did Hamilton feel less connected when the moment mattered most? Why did a weekend that looked promising suddenly become uncertain? That was the first open question. The second came during the race. Hamilton was penalized for speeding in the pit lane. 5 seconds. A small penalty in some races, but at Monaco, 5 seconds can feel enormous because gaps are hard to create and track position is almost sacred. At first, it sounded simple. The pit lane speed limit was 60 kilometers per hour. The automated timing system detected that Hamilton crossed the measurement point too fast. Penalty given. Case closed. But Monaco made it complicated. Because Hamilton was not alone. George Russell was penalized. Pierre Gasly was penalized twice. Oscar Piastri was penalized. Franco Colapinto was penalized. 5 drivers were caught by the same issue from different teams in the same race. That changes the meaning. 1 driver over the limit may be a mistake. 5 drivers caught in the same trap starts to look like a pattern. And patterns are dangerous for Formula One's rule makers. Hamilton's reaction made the controversy explode. He said he was shocked. He said he did not believe he had been speeding. He said he had driven that pit lane for years, that the limiter was on immediately, and that the line drivers naturally taken to the pit entry had not suddenly changed in his mind. That is not a normal excuse. That is a driver questioning the way the rule is being enforced. And because Hamilton has so much experience, the claim carries weight. He knows Monaco. He knows the pit lane. He knows what it feels like to enter under pressure. If he says the limiter was on, and he still got caught, then Ferrari cannot simply treat it as a careless error. They have to ask what the system measured and where. The problem appears to sit in the unique geometry of Monaco's pit entry. Drivers naturally cut toward the white line while entering the pits, a line they have used for years. But the speed detection point is tied to that line, which means the car can still be in the braking transition when the system decides whether it is over the limit. That is the trap. The driver may feel like he is entering normally. The limiter may be engaged. but the sensor may be catching the car at a point where the approach line and the formal pit lane limit do not feel aligned. That is why this is bigger than Hamilton. If only he had been penalized, the story would be about his mistake. But when multiple drivers are caught, the question becomes whether Monaco's pit lane procedure is clear enough for the way the cars actually enter. Formula One rules must be strict, but they also have to be understandable. A rule that catches drivers by surprise again and again may still be technically correct, but creates a trust problem. And in a sport where penalties can reshape championships, trust matters. For Hamilton, the 5-second penalty did not remove second place, but it made his podium vulnerable. That vulnerability is the key, because from that moment onward, Ferrari were no longer just racing Antonelli. They were racing time. Hamilton had to maintain enough of a gap to survive the penalty. The team had to manage strategy knowing the result was no longer clean. Every restart, every safety car, every lap of pressure became more dangerous. And then the race turned chaotic. Lance Stroll crashed, bringing out the safety car. That should have created control. Instead, it created the next investigation. Hamilton was looked at for allegedly leaving more than 10 car lengths to the car ahead under safety car conditions. To a casual fan, that might sound minor. But in Formula One, safety car gaps matter. Drivers have to follow the pack properly. They cannot create huge spaces that affect the restart, tire preparation, or the rhythm of the field. And Hamilton was running second. That made the investigation serious. A penalty there could have done what the pit lane penalty did not. It could have cost him the podium. It could have dropped him behind rivals. It could have turned Ferrari's strongest result of the weekend into another Monaco heartbreak. So for a period of time, Hamilton's P2 was not just a result. It was a question. The race was paused by a red flag. The stewards were reviewing evidence. Ferrari were waiting. Hamilton was waiting. And the entire shape of the podium depended on what the officials decided. That is one of the strangest forms of pressure in Formula One. The driver cannot defend himself with lap time. He cannot overtake the problem. He cannot manage tires or brake later or attack harder. He has to wait for the data to speak. And the stewards looked at everything. Positioning data, marshalling system data, video, timing, telemetry, radio messages, in-car footage. This was not a casual glance. This was the rulebook examining a podium. Then came the words Ferrari needed. No further action. That decision saved Hamilton's second place from a much deeper penalty threat. The stewards referenced an important precedent from a 2025 Canadian Grand Prix, where race control had made clear that a certain degree of tolerance could apply to gaps behind the safety car. The reason was practical. Drivers need space to prepare tires and power units for the restart. That context protected Hamilton. It also showed why these decisions are rarely as simple as they look. A rule may say more than 10 car lengths, but race conditions can create situations where strict measurement alone does not tell the whole story. Drivers are not just following. They are preparing machines with tire temperatures, brake temperatures, energy systems, and restart procedures. That is why Hamilton survived. But survival is not the same as comfort. Because now Ferrari had a driver in second place who had already received one penalty and escaped another investigation. Their other car was about to suffer something worse. Charles Leclerc crashed. At Monaco, that is never just another accident. Leclerc is not merely a Ferrari driver racing in Monaco. He is Monaco's driver racing for Ferrari. Every year, the emotional weight is enormous. Every lap feels personal. Every mistake hurts more because it happens at home, in front of the streets that shaped him. His crash ended his race and brought the event into another red flag sequence. For Ferrari, it was a brutal contrast. One car in the wall. One car under penalty pressure. One team trying to turn chaos into a result, while Mercedes calmly moved toward another win. That is the part Ferrari must hate. Because Hamilton's second place was impressive, but was not enough to stop Antonelli. The Mercedes teenager won again. His fifth consecutive victory. His championship lead became even stronger. And while Ferrari were dealing with penalties, investigations, and Leclerc's heartbreak, Mercedes were collecting the maximum prize. That is how championships drift away. Not always through one huge failure. Sometimes through messy weekends where the rival is simply cleaner. Hamilton did enough to finish second. He even moved into second in the Drivers' Championship with 90 points, ahead of George Russell on 88. That is a major result for Ferrari. It shows Hamilton's move to Maranello is producing serious points. It shows he can survive pressure and still deliver. But Antonelli has 156 points. That is a 66-point gap. And that gap makes every Ferrari mistake feel more expensive. A 5-second penalty matters more when the leader keeps winning. A safety car investigation matters more when the title rival is building distance. A Leclerc retirement matters more when Ferrari need both cars scoring. A qualifying mystery matters more when Mercedes look stable. That is why Monaco was such a warning for Ferrari. The result was good. The process was messy. And if Ferrari want to fight for a championship, messy will not be enough. Hamilton may have survived this time, but Ferrari cannot build a title campaign around surviving. They need clean execution. They need clear communication. They need pit lane procedures that avoid penalties. They need car behavior that does not confuse their driver at the worst moment. They need Leclerc scoring, not crashing out at home. Because Mercedes are not giving gifts. Antonelli is not racing like a rookie waiting to make a mistake. He is racing like the championship leader. Calm, fast, controlled, and increasingly difficult to reach. That puts Ferrari in a difficult position. Hamilton is now their strongest championship card, but the team around him must be precise enough to make that matter. His experience can cover some chaos. His racecraft can protect results. His calm can turn disorder into points. But even Hamilton cannot turn every penalty weekend into a title challenge. At some point, Ferrari have to remove the avoidable drama. And the pit lane issue is the most obvious place to start. Hamilton called for a review, and he had reason. The fact that 5 drivers were caught suggests Monaco's pit entry enforcement deserves closer attention. The issue is not whether speed limits should exist. They absolutely should. Pit lanes are crowded, narrow, and dangerous. Mechanics, officials, and team members are working close to moving cars. The speed limit must be respected, but the enforcement point must be clear. Drivers need to know exactly where the limit is being judged, especially when the approach line creates a natural racing habit that may not match the sensor logic. If a sport wants strict compliance, it must remove ambiguity. Otherwise, Monaco risks creating the same controversy again. And next time, the penalty may decide more than a podium.